Hello, and welcome back to Asian Pulse. We are broadcasting from the traditional unceded territories of the Kwantlen Silvertooth Squamish Nation, and I'm your host, Shivangi Naiker. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. There are millions of Canadians facing the reality of living with a mental health illness. During May, Canadian Mental Health Association is reaching out to the communities, workplace, and schools to discuss mental health. This is the time to get the resources and the help who may not recognize that they are suffering from anxiety and depression. Awareness and talking about the issue is very important, just like other diseases. Mental health should not be treated differently. Walk for Alzheimer's is coming up on May 28th at Central Park in Burnaby. This is a time to join the forces and to educate ourselves on Alzheimer's disease and raise funds and for research and treatment for Alzheimer's. Have a pen and paper ready because we have some interesting events that you might be interested in. Hutch Productions, Jay Sani, and Aurora Immigrations presents The Couple Shama Show on June 25th at PNE Coliseum in Vancouver. Presented by Virgo International Foods. Tickets are available on ticketleader.com. For more information, call Sam Jun at 780-267-0046. Canada/USA Ex-Cost Student Reunion is taking place at Bollywood Banquet Hall on September 4th at 5 p.m. If you would like to volunteer your time or would like to be on the planning committee, please contact 604-537-5123. Tickets are only $40 per person, and all proceeds will go to the Khalsa College in Ba, Fiji Islands. A fundraising is being organized to raise funds for VGH and UBC Hospital Foundation. VGH handles the largest burn center in Canada, and they handled the largest volume of complex cases. This is taking place at Bear Creek Park on June 5th from 11 to 5 p.m. Any cash donations you would like to give will represent both hospitals and will give a tax-deductible receipt for your tax income next year. The two women who are organizing this event are Rosie Narayan and Priya Mani. VPD is hosting a Seniors Health and Safety Fair on June 8th at Creekside Community Center in Vancouver from 10 to 4 p.m. This Seniors Health and Safety Fair will be open to all seniors. Light refreshment and lunch will be provided. For more information, please contact Detective Constable Rita Raj at 604-717-9123 or 604-787-3356. The Canadian Federation of Fiji Organization's 17th Annual Youth Talent Show is taking place on May 28th at Kanna Banquet Hall. Doors open at 4:30 and program starts at 5. For more information for tickets, contact Shannon Permal at 778-709-2853 or Eileen Kumar at 778-868-7174. Miss Fiji Canada Food Fundraiser is taking place on May 15th from 12 to 4 at 13425 81 Avenue, Surrey. For tickets and for more information, contact Arvind Prasad at 778-918-4188 or Shannon Permal at 778-709-2853. If you have any events taking place in your community and would like to share it on our show, email us at asianpulse@gmail.com.
In our studio, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Sadie Kuhn. Sadie is an activist in the community since last 30-40 years, since I have come to know her. And also, this is Black History Month. So we want to talk to Sadie about her activism work in the Black community and where have we come and where are we going. And so for that reason, we need to highlight this month and talk about the oppression of Black community living in British Columbia or anywhere in Canada for that matter. So thank you so much for coming in. And I know you are very, very busy. You're speaking everywhere, giving, because this is a month and everybody wants piece of you, but you are giving piece of us so that we can learn from you as well. So thank you for coming in.
Camilla, we have known each other and been friends for a very long time, and I'm thrilled to be here and take part in this discussion with you about Black History Month.
Yes.
And kind of basically where we go from here, and not just as the Black community, but collectively as communities working together to improve our lives and make things better for the whole community itself.
What I see when it's Black History Month or Black Life Matters is not that the community, the Black community, are fighting for equality and safety and all that. We, everyone has to come together as a collective to be able to support any community, whether it's First Nations community, it's Black community,
Yeah.
South Asian community, whatever, Chinese community. We all have the history of our own oppression. So
Yeah.
I think building that coalition is very, very important.
No, it's critical. I mean,
Yes.
for a safe and supportive society and a just society, we can do nothing else but when any of us, regardless of who we are put in jeopardy, for the collective whole to be willing to stand up for what is right and just and fight for those communities. And I think that it is clear, given the latest report last year from the Commissioner of Human Rights about the state of affairs for BC in terms of First Nations and Black people. We know that many other groups are targeted at particular times, but we also know that the numbers clearly identify that Indigenous people and Black people are targeted to a greater extent. Some of the key questions are, how are we going to go about addressing those matters and helping to make them better? We can't just get angry and say we aren't going to participate, right? We need to come up with clear strategies and expectations and demands that help us realize the goals that we want to have take place. And some of those goals are continuing to build the kind of alliances and connections that are critical for all of us to for all of us to succeed and advance. The other thing I think that is really important is to be clear with governmental agencies and governments themselves about all of our expectations of what we always talk about a just society, but what does a truly just society and an anti-racist society look like? And I think in doing those things, we can be really, really successful in helping to move the pendulum forward rather than backwards.
So Black Lives Matters, we had big, huge rallies in here.
Yeah.
Because for last 2 years we have been under lockdown, so we haven't seen that kind of thing happening in here. But not to forget what took place in here.
Yeah.
Do you think there is more awareness for the people, ordinary people's mind, that looking at the history? Well, because Black history is not taught in the classrooms,
No.
you know, and we as immigrant, we also don't know the oppression of the Black people living in USA, North America, Canada, and all that. So it's so important that the education has a key role to play to
Yes.
educate our children so that they can go home and educate their parents and grandparents and all that. Unless and until we don't start changing the mentality or the mindset of our youth, nothing will happen. You and me can understand that
Right.
we need to treat everybody the same. Color doesn't matter. We all are human first.
Right.
But at the same time, racism starts at home sometimes, and youth need to be educated. Just like there is an education curriculum of First Nations after so long that there is something, so it should be same thing for the Black History Month of our Black
Yeah.
community. So what do you think of that?
I think that you hit the nail on the head, as they say. Education will be a key component, but we can't just look at the school system itself to be the lone tool to use to help educate our communities and societies, because as you pointed out, where we are now is that we are very and have always been. So we need to end that, that kind of mindset that it's not been diverse. We have always been a diverse culture in society, and First Nations are diverse groupings of peoples, and so are all the people who have come here since. Does our history, the history that often people learn in school, does it reflect that reality? What we know is that it does not reflect that reality. Like most people do not know that people of Punjab descent, Sikh descent, were in BC, certainly from the early 1900s. And the contributions that different individuals and groups gave to this province as well as other provinces across the country. They don't know about the contributions of early Chinese settlers,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And not only the work that they did, but the enterprise that they brought, right? They don't know about the contributions of the early Black migration through the Commodore and other ways, through Canada and to the gold fields, right? And the fact that the first dentist in BC was a Black person that practiced around Kamloops and Merritt, right? I mean, we can go through a whole list, and the first teacher that had a degree in BC was a young Black woman. Again, those are the kinds of things that are really important. The first bakery, which was huge, in what is now Victoria, was owned by a Black family and was run the first major newspaper. We can go through the list, but much of that information has been either forgotten or lost. It certainly isn't the information that is shared in the textbooks. And I mean, I as an immigrant here, also in the 60s from the U.S., recognized the real level of disservice and, to a certain extent, disrespect for indigenous people who are a part of this land, the stewards of this land, that their histories and their willingness to share those histories aren't recorded and presented throughout our learnings, right? From science through math, through general histories and current events, right? It should be a full extension of all of who they were and all of who we are too, collectively, as a community and a society, because we've all had much to contribute. And it should be reflected in our history, and it doesn't. Not as of yet, but I understand that it soon will be, and as you know, as a managing editor and curricular developer for legal services, it was one of the things that I was charged with doing, and did it while I was there. And to me, it was important, an important thing to be charged with, to ensure that the history that traditionally was presented, some of that was presented, but that we included the other contributions, right? Starting with indigenous people, and include all of the other histories that were and are a part of our society.
That's quite a bit you have just said, and I'm just reflecting what is being said, that when we first started, that there is no history of the first Black person who was a baker, first MLA in Victoria was a Black man, and all those things. Do you think we have reached a point now, because recently provincial government is giving $28 million for a Chinese museum in Chinatown. Don't you think this is the time that people like Black community, Aboriginal community, or even South Asian community for that matter, that we do have a museum that we
Totally
can,
reflects us.
we could take our children there. If for myself, I didn't learn, I didn't go to school in here, so I don't know the history of the First Nations. I don't know. I'm trying to learn now. But if there is a museum, I can go and read the history, the first settlers of this country,
Yeah.
the first person that came, and what they did. So I think that should be that if we gonna be supporting one community, there is so many other oppressed communities right here before them. And I think we all should be asking that kind of funding to be from a provincial government. And Black history, Black community is one of them.
Yeah.
Aboriginal community is another one of them. And today we are recording this show on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And there is a huge march by Maine and Hastings.
Yes.
And that has been going for last 30, 40 years when the women were gone missing
Yes.
and murdered, and nobody was paying any attention. So
Right.
the women took it upon themselves that they want to show the support, the sisters, the mothers, the grandmothers that they have lost. So it all has to be documented, or our next generation will forget about all that.
Yeah. There is certainly the expectation that government will accept the responsibility it has to support the development with community
Yes.
of a broader base representation of all of who we are. And that can be done in one space or more than one, because we know about the Royal Museum in Victoria, but it is a place that's hard to get to, and having a center that covers the wide diversity of people in British Columbia on the Lower Mainland would make sense. I think also in supporting local communities, say the massive impact that the Indian community have had in the north and in places like the Thompson Valley and Kelowna and other areas, that in fact in every small town that I've lived in, and I have to say in BC I've lived in quite a few, excuse me, the wide diversity of people, that they need to have themselves reflected in a broad way. Community centers that exist in almost every community would be a good place to add that recognition. Wouldn't cost the government nearly as much.
Yeah.
Have people from those communities employed within those bodies, right, would make a huge difference. And that does not suggest at all that there shouldn't be flagships in major centers that also reflect the wide diversity of who we are in any in this province generally. And the government would be doing well to do that, and it would help eliminate this perception that different groups of people are new here. Because for the most part, whether they are South Asians or Chinese or Japanese or people of African descent, along with indigenous people, they have been here for millennia. And we need to start actually operating in that light and understanding that. And again, ensuring that we are better at telling our own history than we have been in the past, with everyone around the table and getting it done.
And whatever I think we need to do, we need to make the First Nations people as part of us, because that's their land we are on, and because that's how they felt.
Well, they have to take the leadership role, I say.
Yeah, and that's how they say that we don't believe. You know, I have a lot of friends that are Aboriginal, and I said, how can I be ally? They said, I don't know how, because nothing, it's not like talk, they need action.
Action.
And we have not. We are responsible
Yeah.
for not showing the action and standing with them
Yeah.
when there's rallies, march, not just going to rallies and march, advocating on behalf of them. They are still the pain that they are living through with the children missing and things like that. So I think we too haven't done a good job, but it applies to all the other communities as well. Because I think when we talk about racism, we we become the victim. And everybody that come to the country, regardless of where, we become the victim, and we feel that all the focus should be on me. No, the focus should not be on me.
Right.
There are other people like me who has been through all this before I came in here. So we need to support each other in that. So do you think during Black History Month, have you seen or do you see any progress done, such as, I don't know what, I can't say what, because I read quite a bit, but I haven't read anything.
Right.
And I want to hear from you as an activist in your own community. Do you see any progression with Black History Month or Black Lives Matters? Anything happened so far?
I think that I would have to say, I always want to see the glass half full, right? Yes, I think there are more Canadians now that know that slavery was a part of Canada before Canadians used to say, oh, there was no slavery in Canada. So there are more Canadians that are aware that there was slavery here, that Black people have often been treated very poorly.
Yes.
More Canadians that are willing to say that in some cases they have directly been a part of that. That's what the stats say, that people are willing to take that on. And that's because of the ongoing education from both the Black community, but also our partners, right, and our allies who have been willing in what have been really sometimes challenging environments, been willing not only to march with us, but also when they are sitting around tables and people are making rather derogatory comments about Black folks, saying, well, that has not been my experience, or that is not, that is not, as far as I'm concerned, what happened, what I've seen happen is this and this and this. So other people beyond just us, our partners and allies being willing to take things on, and rather than sitting through and accepting those racist or negative comments, to be willing to say, well, that's not been my experience, or why would you say that? Because you and I may have done this and this and this, and it wasn't seen in that way. It makes a world of difference because it calls each person out on what they're saying, to recognize what they're saying and what impact it may have on individuals, but also on people collectively. Because there are stereotypes that exist about Black folks that exist, and I know there are stereotypes that exist about other people. We need to be clear that those stereotypes have major impacts on each and every person that are targeted with them, and also on their community, right? It's not limited. So bigoted and racist attitudes tend to spread, and we need to be mindful about what we're doing. If you have questions about particular things, it's important to actually ask those questions and get the answers that are necessary to be gotten, and not to make generalizations that often make no sense at all.
Because I smiled when you were asking that people should be asking questions, whatever doesn't make any sense. But people are so scared to ask that question.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because they said they might be offending the person. And if somebody doesn't know about my culture, I want that person to come and ask me, and it's be better. I'll feel honored to answer however I can. And same thing with the black community,
Yeah.
that if you don't know about the history, you don't know about the oppression, ask them. They're not going to be offended,
Yeah.
but they will be more than happy to educate you
Yeah.
on what they
And
are asking.
it's
So,
terrific.
I mean, I'm looking at the time as well, and this is your month. It should be every day, 12 months a year should be awareness on black history and all that. What would you like to see the people that are watching you today, listening to you today as an activist in the black community? How can we all be able to come on board with you and be able to support a Black History Month and black community in general?
Yeah. In terms of Black History Month, I think any things that our allies or people generally in the community can do to raise awareness about the fact that, that we are here, that we have a long, rich history in Canada.
We have run out of time. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did bringing it to you. If you'd like to be a sponsor on our show, please contact Camilla at 604-537-5123 or email us at asianpulse@gmail.com. Before I leave you with these thoughts. If we make a goal to live a life of compassion and unconditional love, then the world will indeed become a garden where all kinds of flowers will bloom and grow. If you missed our show, you can watch it again on Thursdays at 8:30 and Saturdays at 5:30 p.m., Channel 4 and Channel 10 in Calgary. Thank you for spending the part of the day with us. I'm your host, Shivangi Naiker. Stay safe and stay healthy. See you all next week.